Welcome back to another review on Sports News Australia. Today we got Saturday's review. The AFL was insane today. We started with North Melbourne and Richmond. Richmond just leading the game throughout the whole entire game. But in the last quarter, North Melbourne come back. The third quarter they showed signs. And they come back and now just incredible from North Melbourne. Just incredible. Yes, they win by 13 points. It was a close game. It was at Marvel Stadium. We had Zeri with only one behind, but getting 20 disposals in. He was really useful for North Melbourne's midfield. We had David Uniacke with 33 disposals and 3 goals, not missing one. We got Nankervis, the Richmond's ruck, was doing well for them. I think he would be the best player for Richmond, but we did see Taranto get 27 disposals and 1 behind. Scott getting 28 disposals for the North Melbourne. Sheasel getting 29 disposals for North Melbourne as well. McKercher getting 31 disposals. Nick Larkey getting 5 goals, only 12 disposals, but still impressive. North Melbourne had that great win, and their game's coming up. Now, this was the battle for last place. Whoever lost would go last. Their seasons are over, both of them, already from the start. But just an amazing game, amazing play. North Melbourne is done for the season, but they still play good at the end of the season. They should start doing that more at the start of the season, not at the end of the season when they start playing good. But unfortunately, they just weren't good enough at the start of the season. Richmond just losing, just had an injury every single week. Their best players always injured. Bolton, just all of them. They're just missing lots of players. So they were unfortunate for this season. They don't have Damon Hardwick anymore, so it's just not looking good for them. They did say lots of their players, like Rioli, Martin, want to go back to Gold Coast to play with their old coach, Hardwick. They have a strong relationship, but it doesn't really matter now. Just ended the season for both teams already, and we'll get on to the next game. Next game, we had the Geelong Cats and Adelaide Crows. Geelong Cats were strong throughout all of the game. Of course, just all game strong. Third quarter, Adelaide Crows came back and took the lead. But at the last quarter, Geelong just came back in the last few minutes of the game to win by 5 points. Cameron was on fire, kicking 6 goals. It was Geelong's home at GHMBA in Geelong. Looks like Geelong is staying up in the top 8, but losing most of their games. For Adelaide Crows, they're not predicted to make top 8. They can, but probably not anymore, actually, after that loss. They lost last week. So their coming up game, Adelaide Crows, is against the Bulldogs at Adelaide Oval on Sunday. It'll be their home ground. For the players, so as I said, Cameron 6 goals and with only 17 disposals. We also had Rory Laird for the Adelaide Crows with 29 disposals. Rachel for the Crows kicking 3 goals. Rope getting 3 goals as well. For the Crows, no major ball winners, nobody getting lots of disposals. But overall, Cats still in the top 8, projected to make finals, and probably are going to be a superstar in the top 8. Adelaide Crows, though, their season's over, unfortunately. We're missing all the good players from them, but we'll see them next season. Just gonna look at their upcoming games that are not really the best, but they can still win those games. I mean, they can at least have a try at it. But Geelong win this one by only 5 points. Next game, we had a thriller at the At the Adelaide Ovals, it was Port Adelaide against Sydney Swans. Sydney on the top of the ladder, been going downhill a lot. Last week they lost to the Bulldogs at their own home ground at the SCG. Port Adelaide, just a very strong team after they thrashed the Bulldogs a few weeks ago. In this game, they absolutely bombed Sydney Swans. They threw every single lining at them. They were just strong. At half time, it was literally 86-9. Port Adelaide were winning. And no wonder they win the game by 112. We did see Sydney score a few goals in the third and fourth, but just not good enough for the game. They were always going to lose at the start of the game. Port Adelaide are just on fire at Adelaide Oval. But for some reason, it's only at Adelaide Oval. We did see them nearly lose to the Saints at Marvel Stadium. So maybe Port Adelaide are just good at home. Sydney, going downhill, already made top 8. Or have they? Still in first place, but not looking good for them. They are very close to making out of top 8. But for now, they're fine and they don't have to worry about it if they win their next few games. But for them, it's alright. We'll go to the players. Zach Butters with 31 disposals. Dan Houston, 24 disposals. And kicking 2 goals. And we also saw Rosie with 26 disposals. Ollie Wines with 31 disposals. Golden was the best player for Sydney Swans, 25 disposals. Roberts had 20 disposals for the Sydney Swans. James Horne-Francis for Port got 27 disposals. Georgius got 4 goals and only 14 disposals for the Port Adelaide Power. Rowbottom did get injured for Sydney. It's a major loss. So we will just see how the season goes for them. Port Adelaide Power now second place. Sydney still first. Warner was subbed. Also, Burn Jones was the sub-tactical for both teams. And we'll get on to the next game. Here was the best game of all of this week. Collingwood taking a massive lead at the start of the game. Carlton coming back with a hanger. Collingwood just in the lead all game. It was Scott Pendlebury's 400th game. Big time for him. And of course, it always happens. These two have the biggest rivalry in football history at the G. It was full crowd. But just at the end of the game, Carlton had a chance to win. Their forward that got the ball, he marked it right just on the 50 line. He had to kick it to win the game after the siren. The tension was high because the Collingwood supporters were right in front of him, and all you could hear was all the boos, all the bad stuff from the Collingwood fans. And of course, he didn't even get it behind from that amount of pressure. He would have gotten that goal if he didn't have the pressure on him. But unfortunately, Collingwood just too good for the Blues. We have seen the Blues start going downhill. Dramatic, just very bad. Collingwood's starting to go uphill now. But Collingwood can barely tie on to the top 8. Maybe they can make it. And Carlton maybe can hang on to the top 8. We did see them do good in the season, but now they're not. For the players, we saw Newman from Carlton get 34 disposals. Walsh with 30. Hugh with 32. Cripps only getting 30. It's still good. We saw Hoskin Elliott getting 2 goals with only 19 disposals. Howe getting 20 disposals. Pendlebury with 27 disposals. Holland with 21 and 2 goals. We did see quite a scare from Carlton. Lots of injuries. We saw Chera Chinkota. No, not Chera Kerner. Just lots of injuries for them. That's very concerning for how they're going right now. And that'll be it for that game. But some concerns for Carlton, not looking good about those injuries. Cottrell out for Carlton, it was Cottrell, Chera, and also Curnow. Curnow, I think, did come back on, but what a scare for Carlton. Not looking good for them as the season comes to an end. Looking on to the next game. That tomorrow we'll see the Sunday game. At Monica Oval in Canberra, we see GWS face Hawthorn, both needing a win to get into top 8.